You would think that after Donald Trump's meltdown at the UN, he would have all of the attacking world leaders out of his system, but clearly that is not the case. It wasn't satisfactory enough to tell so many heads of state that their countries are going to hell. Donald Trump has to continue his quest to enrage every world leader, which is what he did with President Erdogan of Turkey today, taking a shot at him to his face and what can only be described as a complete collapse in the Oval Office. We are going to get into it all and who else Donald Trump is attacking. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into what Donald Trump had to say about the president of Turkey, I want to start with the domestic freakout that he had attacking the radical left over the shooting we saw in Dallas yesterday.
There was another shooting at an ICE facility in Texas yesterday. Terrible. Detainees were killed. The FBI director posted on social media bullets that were engraved with the message anti-ICE. Right. He just posted another thing on social media saying they recovered a handwritten note from the subject that read, "Hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror to think, is there a sniper with AP rounds on that roof?" Who do you hold responsible for the uptick in left-wing violence in the country?
Radical left rhetoric. The radical left is causing the problem. They're out of control. They're saying things, and they're really dumb people. I mean, I look at Crockett, I look at some of these people. They're very low IQ people, actually. But the radical left is causing this problem, not the right, the radical left. And it's going to get worse, and ultimately it's going to go back on them. I mean, bad things happen when they play these games. And I'll give you a little clue. The right is a lot tougher than the left. But the right's not doing this. They're not doing it, and they better not get them energized because it won't be good for the left.
Now, I hate to be a person raising what some would call conspiracy theories, but at this point, challenging Kash Patel's FBI and Pam Bondi's DOJ isn't journalistic malpractice, it's journalism. These aren't institutions of trust anymore, and it's not because they're occupied by Republicans, it's because they're occupied by idiots. So Kash Patel taking a photo of bullets that say anti-ICE on them, which is not a slogan that anyone on the so-called radical left even uses, don't mind me if I'm going to dismiss that as a little bit shady until a court has affirmed it, until an investigation is closed. The last time that Kash Patel was tweeting before an investigation was closed with Charlie Kirk, he had to retract his statement. So this photo that coincidentally fits Kash Patel's narrative and J.D. Vance's narrative and Donald Trump's narratives, I'm sorry if I don't trust it. But I don't, especially when Donald Trump wants to, once again, take an opportunity in which no law enforcement officials were harmed and only a detainee was killed, which of course Donald Trump doesn't care about. I don't see the flags at half-mast anywhere. That's not happening. But excuse me if I'm going to have a little bit of a problem with the narrative that they're pushing, with their photos out of nowhere as Donald Trump lies about political violence. But he didn't stop there with getting in his feelings. Before he attacked the world leader sitting right next to him, he decided to take some shots at Putin.
But I'm very disappointed in Putin. And he's been fighting hard, he's been fighting long, and they lost millions, they lost like 1 million soldiers. And you know, with all of the heavy bombardment over the last 2 weeks, they've gained almost no land. Think of that. They've gained almost no land. And I'm not going to ever call anybody a paper tiger, but Russia spent millions and millions of dollars in bombs, missiles, ammunition, and lives, their lives, and they've gained virtually no land. I think it's time to stop, I really do.
Now, I said this yesterday and the day before, and I'm going to keep saying it. I will be happy if the foreign policy of this administration continues to shift in favor of Ukraine. Of course, who wouldn't be? This is what should have happened all along. They're our ally, for God's sakes. What took us so fucking long? Besides the fact that Donald Trump will bend the knee to any dictator that bats their eyelashes at him, which is the important point here. Donald Trump isn't mad about the suffering that we've seen in Ukraine. He's not empathizing with our ally. He's mad that Putin isn't returning his text. Like, that's it. Vlad hasn't sent him enough flowers lately, so he's all hurt. He's crying, and that's why I'm very worried to get too excited about what seems like a 180 around this war in Ukraine, Because what if Putin calls him up, whispering some sweet nothings in his ear, and Donald Trump gets all, excited, to put it lightly, for his favorite dictator? I don't know. This is a madman who really just has pudding leaking out of his brain at this point, which is why he made this comment about Erdogan, which I was surprised to see him make.
Of Turkey.
Unfairly, as it turns out. Rigged election, he knows about rigged elections better than anybody. But when I was in exile, we were still friends. That's always a good way to find out, test of friendship. But
Donald Trump insinuating that the president of Turkey, and this is well reported, was rigging his elections, is interfering in his elections to say, well, this guy knows about how to rig an election, is a crazy thing to do. That is insane. But he's right. Sometimes he's right. I don't want to give Donald Trump credit, but my God, what a crazy thing to do. But this is the pudding brains Trump. He's just saying whatever comes to his mind. And it's kind of funny because he says it with a bit of reverence. He's like, if you want to talk about this guy right here, knows how to rig, he's going to give me some notes later on rigging elections. I think you got a deck, you got a PowerPoint, right? Can we get the clicker going? Press, could you get out of the room so we can make sure that I know how to rig 2028? It's confirming everything that Gavin Newsom has said. But wow, he just let that rip. He's like, this guy rigs elections, and that's terrible. But honestly, kind of respect it. I tried and failed. You got to learn from the greats. He has really just lost his mind at this point, and it's very clear with the way that he's speaking about James Comey in an effort to distract from, I don't know what, maybe the Epstein files?
the left. We don't want that. Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, it seems like an indictment of James Comey is imminent. Would this be the first step in accountability for pushing the hoax of Russia, along with Barack Obama involved as well?
Well, I can't tell you what's going to happen because I don't know. You have very professional people headed up by the Attorney General and Todd Blanche and Lindsay Halligan, who's very smart, good lawyer, very good lawyer. They're going to make a determination. I'm not making that determination. I think I'd be allowed to get involved if I want, but I don't really choose to do so. I can only say that Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI. And but I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen. Thank you very much, everyone.
I think that it is important that we recognize that Trump's attack on Comey is clearly an effort to shift attention in part from the Epstein files, as we just saw a Democratic win in a special election. That means Democrats have enough votes, have enough signatures on Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna's petition to release the Epstein files, to bring that to a vote on the House floor. And now Donald Trump is talking about James Comey. Now he's talking about Letitia James. Of course, Donald Trump is always attacking a black woman. That's what Donald Trump does. But this is pretty interesting timing, considering when that's happening. I think we also have to always keep everything in the context of not just Epstein. I know it's what's front of mind for all of us, but that this is just an effort to expand his authoritarian project. Donald Trump usually picks pretty good enemies, and that's why he's going after Comey, because liberals really don't want to defend James Comey. I'm not super psyched to. But of course, in the same way, I'll stand up for Jimmy Kimmel's right to free speech, even though I really like Jimmy Kimmel. The people I don't like, I'll stand up to for their right to free speech as well. And James Comey shouldn't be jailed or indicted for a whole bunch of bullshit. Donald Trump literally had to fire people to make this indictment happen. And I think we need to point that out. Jen Psaki certainly did right here. You know where Donald Trump is going. This is a part of his authoritarian plan, and we have to be calling it out. We are certainly going to on this show every single day. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to support the show in another way, you can become a subscriber to my Substack by clicking right here or the link below. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. Until next time, I'll see you soon.